Well, thank you everyone for joining us and making time for this, our second in a series of webinars that are really learning conversations designed to lift up and highlight local innovations, things happening across the grade level reading network that have high potential for replication, that are both promising and portable. We have a special webinar with Monroe Richardson from Charlotte talking about the home reading helper. We've already heard from a number of grade level reading communities using that are adopting it and folding it into their work to encourage more parents and children and families to read with each other, and not just read to kids, but read with kids. And so it's a great initial webinar. That one was archived. And today we have the second in our series, which we are thrilled that Beth Duda, the leader of the Suncoast grade level reading campaign at the Patterson Foundation in Florida, is really leading a tremendous effort there. It involves 4 counties, Manatee, Sarasota, DeSoto, Charlotte, and I know that campaign continues to be dynamic, and I know they're getting ready to onboard some additional counties in that work. Beth's here to share something, and I was talking to her before we officially kicked off all about. I think they've done just such a tremendous job with the Suncoast Summer Book Challenge and a focus on summer reading and promoting summer reading broadly. They've done great work with that effort itself, but also done a great job of pulling together and packaging it in such a way that other communities across the grade level reading network can actually use it. I've been in and around the summer learning and summer reading world for a number of years, dedicated a huge part of my career to focusing on this critical issue of summer learning loss and reading, and this effort that she's been leading and that the communities have embraced in the Suncoast region is fantastic. I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I think it's one of the rare cases of something that's truly scalable, it's affordable, it builds on an activity that already exists. It really provides kind of an infusion of quality and intentionality and focus to activities that many communities are trying to do around summer reading. And also, I think very, very cleverly focuses on something that is ubiquitous, happens in a lot of different settings or contexts, but designs a program effort and an outreach and initiative that really can go from one program or context to another very easily. So it's not program or context specific. It really can be used in a variety of different settings and contexts in a community. And the other part I love about it is that it's truly kid tested and kid approved. That this is something that's a lot of fun, that's enjoyable, and relatively turnkey communities that want to do something very similar. So with all of that, I want to go ahead and turn it over to Beth to share a little bit about the Suncoast Book Challenge, what they've learned from that, and how those lessons and those tools and materials can be utilized more broadly across the network. So Beth, take it away.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm very glad to be with you here today. I do have a PowerPoint, so let me pull that up and see if I can figure out how to share it. I believe I can. Yep. Okay. So, we are the Suncoast Campaign for Grade Level Reading. We are a 4-county initiative right now, a regional initiative on the west coast of Florida. And there's me, hello, and I'm happy to be here today and really happy that you took an hour out of your day to learn a little bit about the approach we're taking to summer learning. Our campaign is, as I mentioned, we take a regional approach. We do stay very close to the 5 pillars: school readiness, chronic absenteeism, summer learning, family and parent engagement, and health issues. And we do it through the lens of making sure that we are engaging government, individuals, not-for-profits, business, and the media in everything that we do. We feel that by involving all 5 sectors, we'll be able to have sustainability and longevity, is that a word, in what we're doing. So everything that we put together has either involvement of one or more of the 5 pillars of the campaign through the lens of involving all 5 sectors. And as I mentioned, we take a regional approach. We have a lead partner in each one of the counties that we work in. The Community Foundation of Sarasota County, United Way Suncoast leads our work in Manatee County, United Way of Charlotte County in Charlotte County, and we have a new community just emerging, DeSoto County. Each one of our lead agencies takes care of specific county-specific work, with the Patterson Foundation really looking at accelerating and amplifying work that can be done in all 4 counties at the same time. Our region, we have a variation in our 3rd grade reading scores. I just put this up just to give you an idea. In DeSoto County, our lowest county, 29% of the 3rd graders are scoring a 3 or above on our Florida assessment test. And our highest rate currently is in Sarasota County with 68%. When we look at how we would like to influence summer learning, we really pay attention to the year in the life of an elementary school student. This is based on a 180-day school year with children being in instruction for 6.5 to 7 hours a day. So as we look at this graph, knowing that their time in school is 14%, time sleeping, we hope, is around 33%, their time awake and out of school is really an opportunity. So as we look at this, we really wanted to have an impact in the summer. So we started by researching what was currently happening in our region during the summer. And, we found out that some of our, programming, it was all over the map. Some programs were 2 weeks, some were 4 weeks, some were 7 weeks, some were half day, some were full day. Some were billed as academic programs. Others were just for fun. There was a lot of faith-based programs. And we wanted not to select just one place that we could influence, but we wanted to come up with something that would be replicable in any kind of a summer situation. So we decided we would pilot in the summer of 2017 the Suncoast Summer Book Challenge with a focus on putting together a support package that was scalable, that could elevate the entire summer learning system. We found a wide range in the current summer landscape. We had, places that would have 300 kids a week with very little involvement in academics or focus on reading. We also had school-based programs that were focusing solely on academics. And we wanted to find something that could elevate the entire system. So in the summer of 2017, we put together the Suncoast Summer Book Challenge. We piloted with 22 summer providers from 2 counties. And the challenge that we presented was for children to read at least 6 books over the summer months. We did ask for each of the 22 summer providers to provide us with a weekly tally of the books that the children had read, and we discovered a great deal that first year. We discovered that it was a real challenge for our summer providers to I guess, motivate the front line. We had great alignment with our administrators and with the program directors, but when it came to the front line, people who were interacting with the children, we discovered that many of them did not have an innate love of reading, nor did they understand the importance of children staying engaged during the summer. We also found a reluctance in reporting that I think one of the quotes that I had from the first year is, you know, why should we care about your program or your reading program any more than we care about anything else? So we knew we had some challenges. That said, we did have summer providers that did very well that first year and were able to show learning gains over the summer. So we were encouraged, but we realized that we needed to do more to energize, motivate, and train the front line. So as we came up with our, I think I just went backwards. There we go. As we came up with what we would do for summer 2018, we set our sights on really making the program available to any summer provider that wanted to participate. And over the course of the year, we expanded to 4 counties. So we wanted to make sure that we kept to the 6 books. We wanted the children to read 6 books over the summer. And that wasn't a randomly selected number. We did use James Kim's research from the Harvard Graduate School of Education and picked that 6-book number very intentionally. And then set about coming up with supports so that we would have greater involvement and greater enthusiasm for the program. So we knew the things that were very important to us was having data, and we wanted a common data measurement. And we were very fortunate that at the time we came up with the Summer Book Challenge, all 4 of the school districts that we operate in partnership with use iReady. And iReady has AP tests, and we decided that our summer outcomes measurement would be comparing the AP3 test that the children take in the spring and compare that to the very first diagnostic test that they take in the fall, which would give us a measurement of their reading skills over the summer. And the other thing that we wanted to make sure is that all of the summer providers understood the importance of summer learning, that we had alignment in our vision for what we wanted for the kids, and also alignment in our communication so that all of us were telling the same story in our community. So we understood that the motivation was going to be different for different groups of people. For us and for many of the very active people in our community that are trying to make a real difference with our children, the grade level reading movement, we knew that what we wanted to do was improve our reading scores. I think the summer providers were motivated to participate, certainly because we provided a weekly stipend, but more importantly, we, the Suncoast Campaign, were going to supply supports that would allow them to be successful. And some of the things that we provided were training for not only their administrators and directors, but training that the front line could take advantage of. We had engagers that worked over the course of the summer that were giving support on a weekly basis to the summer providers, helping them if they needed help in reporting, and also giving them ideas, not only ideas that we came up with, but sharing ideas from the other summer providers. We actually produced a weekly newsletter with highlights of what the different camps were doing to generate a love of learning and how they were highlighting reading and rewarding reading within their camps. And for the children, silicone bracelets. If I had known early in my teaching career how hard a child would work for a brightly colored silicone bracelet, things would have been very, very different. But what we did is we put together a package so that every book a child read, they received a brightly colored silicone bracelet. And they loved them. The children would wear them daily. They would compare their bracelets with others. And we ended up actually having to generate a different bracelet, because we had some children who were reading 20 books a week. So we came up with a rainbow colored bracelet that was the equivalent of 20 bracelets for some of our kindergarten and first grade children who were on fire with the number of books they were reading. As I mentioned, we did provide a stipend to our participating summer providers. So we made sure that we provided them money for our orientation and training. And then depending on the number of children that they had enrolled, we gave them weekly supports. Each one of the participating agencies signed an MOU. The MOU was very specific on what we needed from them and what supports we would be providing. We were not prescriptive in what they had to do to generate a love of learning or a joy for reading. We allowed them to come up with their ideas of how they would like to do that. But based on what we did in 2017, we learned that some people wanted some clearer, more focused direction on the things they could do. So we provided stickers for the kids, a family guide that gave instructions on how to turn the house into a supportive learning environment. We provided book guides for all of the children, and then we held a summer blast-off event. It was a half-day training, and we insisted that to be part of the summer program, each provider had to send at least 2 people to the training. However, it was open to as many people as they would like to send. We had hands-on lessons that occurred during the day, and in just a moment I'll explain to you how we got those lessons and how we provided them to the participants so that they could use them. But I think what's really important is that we made an effort to be the change that we wanted to see. In 2017, we visited many summer providers, and we saw a huge range in how adults were treating children and how engaged children were, or in some cases were not, in what was happening during the summer. And we decided that our blast off would be a model of how to make a day exciting and how to truly engage the people. We started very early in the morning at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. So if you can imagine, some of our summer providers were not happy at 7 a.m. to come to a high school for a half-day training that they really weren't sure that they wanted. But because we made it mandatory, they knew they had to be there. We greeted them with brightly colored balloons. We had rockets in the courtyard of the school. We had a breakfast buffet. We had people smiling, greeting them as soon as they got out of the car. We had all of the walkways with signage so they knew exactly where to go. Each one of them received a little gift bag when they first arrived, with a notebook and the agenda and how the day was going to run. And it was very important to us that we treated them well, because I think all of us respond to being treated well. And it was wonderful to see so many of the summer providers comment to me and to our wonderful team who was there about how much they valued being valued, which of course we responded right away that that's the way we wanted them to treat the children, because the whole atmosphere changes when you've got that mutual respect and a mutual joy for what is happening. So we provided a summer book challenge blast off guide. We went to 6 of our wonderful educators and asked them to put together their most fun lesson about a specific book or about reading or reading tips. And then we asked them to please take all of the educational jargon out of the lesson, to put it in language that a high school student, if they were a counselor at the YMCA, that they would be able to execute the lesson. And we had those 6 lessons that we published in a little booklet. And then over the course of the blast off, if you'll remember, I did say that 2 people from every summer provider had to be present. So each one of those providers went to 3 different breakout sessions. So each provider experienced all 6 lessons. So they were then able to take those activities and share them back with their summer camps or their summer staffs. We were delighted at the number of summer providers who brought more than the minimum to the summer training. We ended up with almost 300 people at the training. And this is a picture of the breakfast that we had for them before we did our breakout sessions. And each one of the providers over the course of the day received not only their book guide, but they also received the materials that they would need to be able to do the summer book challenge back in their summer camps. We provided each one of them with a bin with all of their materials. We made sure that they had they met their engager. We had a team of some educators, some people that work on our regular outreach team. They were able to meet their engager and then also able to see how we would be asking them to report progress over the summer. I think some of the keys to the success of the program was our flexibility in the type of provider and the length of programming, and I'll share the kind of providers that participated, that we had an outcome measurement in place, and we had partnerships within the school district so that we were able to get the data. And the engagers did a magnificent job of establishing and maintaining relationships over the summer. These are some of the bracelets that were given out over the course of the summer. And we had private childcare facilities, boys and girls clubs, the YMCAs, parks and rec, community centers, the school districts, faith-based programs, housing authorities, and even businesses participate in the Suncoast Summer Book Challenge. Some of you may have heard at GLR Week about the Anna Maria Oyster Bars and the Dive Into Reading program that they put forth over the summer. We also had Ozark Bank that came in and supported reading in one of our organizations, Just for Girls. So it was really great to see all 5 sectors involved in the summer programming, and I think it really did help us to have a greater impact. So we had 5,369 children who participated in the Suncoast Summer Book Challenge. 4,915 of them completed the challenge, meaning that they read at least 6 books over the course of the summer. That was 92% completion, and we were quite pleased with that. And a total of 126,787 books were read during the summer. Now, those output numbers made us feel pretty good, to tell you the truth. And I think a lot of our summer providers were very pleased to be able to report their information. But what we were most excited about were our outcomes measurement. Again, using iReady data, we were able to get performance data for 69 of the summer providers. Now, some of you might be wondering, why only 69, not why all 80? One of our school districts did decide to stop using iReady in the middle of the summer. So although we had the pre-test, we did not have post-test for them. They've gone to a different system. We had some of our children who were too young for iReady, some of our incoming kindergartners. We didn't have, a pre-test that we could see. And in a couple of locations, because they were very small, we didn't have at least 10 students participate in their category, and in order for the data to be unidentifiable, we needed at least 10 in each grade level. So that's what the discrepancy between the 80 some odd providers we had and the 69 that we were able to get data for. As you can see, 62% of our summer locations experienced no loss of reading skills over the summer. And I encourage you to compare that to the average loss of 2 to 3 months that our lower income kids very often experience over the summer. We had 41% of the summer locations actually show an increase in reading skills over the summer, which we thought was very exciting. 76%, there was only a half a month loss of reading skills. And again, if you compare that to the 2 months that children very often lose, we were greatly encouraged by that. And the 96% lost a month or less was really terrific. So we're very encouraged by these results, but not resting on our laurels quite yet. We do see a greater opportunity. We saw in our data that the programs that were longer had better results. So some of the programs that only met for 2 weeks or 4 weeks didn't have the same kind of results that some of our places that had 9 to 11 weeks of summer. So we see an opportunity for some strengthening there. And we also see a continued opportunity to really engage the front lines in what we're doing. As much as the administrators or program directors would like to, be aligned with our mission and all, we know that it's the people who are actually in contact with the children that have the greatest impact. So as we look to expanding for next summer, we probably will increase the length of time of our summer blast off and perhaps make it a full day of training, and then have some kind of a booster event about midway through the summer, just to make sure that motivation and enthusiasm stays strong. And everything that I talked about today is available for sharing. We have the book log, the parent guides, we have the lessons that we shared with our summer providers. All of that is shareable. We can share where we got our bracelets from. And each one of the bracelets, by the way, was embossed with "Reading is the key to succeeding." So I think, Jenny, if I'm not mistaken, I'm supposed to take questions now.
Yes, I'm just unmuting myself. That would be great. If we can, so before we turn to questions, I just want to say thank you, Beth. That's such a fantastic overview of a really incredible program. And I loved hearing more details about how you made it work. So congratulations on such a wonderful program. If people can put questions in the chat box, I think we'll try to do it that way. And Suzanne or I will ask you the questions, Beth. So there's a couple that are coming through. One person asked, do you provide any of the books, and how do providers or kids get books?
Okay, so with the stipend money that we provided, our summer providers could use that money if they wanted to purchase books. We also engage with community partners. Our local Rotary is very active in supporting the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. In one of our counties, the Kiwanis Club has a bookmobile, and they would visit the summer providers and allow children to have books. The ELC of Manatee County shared books throughout the summer with not only the Dive into Reading program, but some of our other summer providers as well. And again, we were not prescriptive in how our support dollars were to be used. So some of the summer providers did use those support dollars to purchase books. Others used the support dollars to hire educators who were off from the summer to come in and run a reading room for them. And others used them to, take children to locations to motivate them to read. So it was a variety of ways that the children had books. And then, of course, anytime we could get the children to a library or get the library to the children, we were excited about that.
Great, thank you. So we have a couple of questions, it looks like, about the total cost and who paid for the stipends, etc. Can you talk a little more about that and how much the stipends were?
Yes, absolutely. So the Patterson Foundation fully funded our Suncoast Summer Book Challenge. However, this kind of a challenge could be funded in a variety of different ways. A coalition could fund it, a community foundation could fund it. We had, as I said, Rotary Club is very active here, and they've expressed interest in funding similar things. What we provided for the providers, if they had less than 30 children enrolled in their program, we gave $200 a week, and based on how many weeks they were in session. If they had 30 or more children in the program, they were eligible for $500 a week. And then if they had over 60 children, there was an additional support per child that we gave. I know there was a multiple part question. Did I get all the parts?
I think the other part was a sense of maybe the overall cost, or maybe, I don't know if you've looked at cost. The sites are so different, it's hard to say cost per site, but anything like that to give the sense of the big picture? Well,
I didn't write it down. I believe it was about $70,000, but I might be mistaken on that. But my email information, I'd be happy to give exact figures to anybody who would like to see them.
Great, and that was for over 5,000 children.
Yes, 5,369 children.
You know exactly. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
what's great about me that I know the number of kids, but not how much it costs.
Yes. So here's a question. You had the initial slide reflecting where you are now in terms of reading proficiency. Can you share information on where you began or any change over time?
So the Suncoast Campaign has been an entity since 2015, and we are within, I think, 3 percentage points in every county. Charlotte County and DeSoto County just joined us, so those numbers are what they are with no historical. I think Manatee County improved by 2 or 3 points and then settled back 2 or 3, but we're within 3 percentage points of where we began in 2015.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we have a couple more questions here. If some of the programs that were engaged were only for a few weeks, how did you track reading over the summer after they weren't engaged in the summer program anymore? Or did you only track the books read for the weeks that the kids were engaged in the summer program?
Yeah, so the answer to that is yes. So we did track the books by provider when the children were with the provider. However, we did give an option to the children who wanted to stay engaged with reading. We had a special email address set up that parents could email us their children's progress, and we would give them bracelets. And so there, most of the children stayed engaged only when they were at the camp, but we did have a way for the children who wanted to keep going and who wanted to be able to say that they had met the challenge. So we had both things available.
That's great. And then whether they did only a couple weeks of a program or, like you said, a 10 or 11 week program, they all participated through their schools in the iReady, and that's how you were able to measure.
That's correct.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay, someone is wondering, how big is your team to implement this across 4 regions? Did you use volunteers? How did that work?
Yes, so we did use some volunteers, but we staffed up for summer. We engaged with several educators who had the summer off, who were engagers for us over the summer. I believe we had about 13 people over the course of the summer that helped guide this program through, but they were paid hourly, and we had some of our year-round engagement team participate, but again, we did staff up because of the number of providers we needed to have weekly contact with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Someone's wondering if all the tools are available on the website or if they need to contact you for the tools.
All the tools are available on the website, but I would also welcome any questions, or if anybody wants greater explanation on how we work the program, or you'd like to see the Google Docs that we used for reporting, we're happy to share any of that.
Thank you. That's so generous of you to offer. Another question about the iReady assessments. How were you able to access those assessments?
So we have a partnership agreement with each school district. So what we did was we collected the students' identification numbers as part of our reporting system. And we were able by site then to provide our school district with a list of identification numbers. They then compared the AP3 test with the AP1 test, and they were able to send us back aggregate data per site. So we weren't looking at the data student by student. We were looking at it for the entire sites. But that data sharing agreement is something that we have in place with all 4 of the counties that we are currently operating in.
Great. And is that something that you worked out just prior to this, or did you sort of have a relationship with already with some data sharing with those school districts?
Yes. So with our attendance data, we had started a relationship with the school district, and some of you might already know, we also support a data tech position in 3 of the school districts that we operate in. We found early on in the work that some of the delay we had in getting data from the school district was actually a capacity issue, that they didn't have the time to generate those additional supports. So we have an agreement with the school districts. We fund a data tech position. So whenever the Campaign for Grade Level Reading has a data request, it goes to the top of the list, and we get it pretty quickly. And when they are not engaged in work for the campaign, they can do whatever it is that would benefit the district. And we've been very pleased with some of the things that have happened as a result.
Thank you. These questions keep rolling in. What have your previous summer projects looked like, and did you do this small scale prior to the past year?
So 2017 was our first summer program. Now, our lead partners in each district had supported programs within certain agencies. So I know that the Community Foundation of Sarasota County had done some work with the Boys and Girls Clubs in Sarasota County. They had been involved with the summer learning academies in Manatee. United Way had supported some of the Boys and Girls Club and some of the things that had happened in some of the agencies. But 2017 was the first time we tried to do something regionally under the Suncoast banner, and starting with 22, I guess, was our version of doing it at a small scale, and this year expanding to the 83.
Great, thank you. I have a couple questions, and keep your questions coming if you have them. But a couple things came that I wondered about. Excuse me. One, you talked about sort of the wide range of programs that were a part of this in terms of length of time over the course of the summer, length of time during the day or week that they operated, and different types of programs as well, by what kind of organization led. And I'm just wondering if you found that there were types that had different type of challenges, or that were less able to sort of come on board versus others, and if there were ways, or it may not have been by type, but if there were challenges that you were able to help sort of people work through to get to where you wanted them to be.
Yes. You know, I think our engagement team was critical to that work, because a lot of the difficulties that different providers had were very specific to their agency or their location. You know, sometimes it was they didn't feel they had a staff member who knew how to do Google Docs, or they couldn't figure out how to make reading or what we meant by helping to create an environment that would engender a love of learning. So by having someone that they could talk to, and then with the newsletter that we created, where we could actually share ideas between the different providers, I think that helped to overcome a lot of the resistance and difficulty we saw in the first year. That, you know, by us publishing a little article about, you know, a guest author who had been at the Boys and Girls Club in Charlotte County, we then saw that same kind of thing was happening in Manatee County. And that peer-to-peer learning was really important. But I think also helping to align that shared aspiration in the beginning of the summer. I think all of us, if somebody says, you know, we want you to do this because we're telling you to do it, there's a difference between that and these are our kids, and right now they don't have the tools they need to be successful later on in their lives, and we together can do something to change that. So by giving them the opportunity to kind of opt in and be part of the team that was going to help these children be more successful, we found a whole lot less grumbling than we had encountered the first year.
Mm-hmm. That's great. You know, I think that getting opt-in with a stipend is great, but then to get a different and deeper level of opt-in with some of these other things that you're talking about is what makes the program really work well. Let's see, can you talk more about how you got to your total reporting numbers? Our summer pilot program tracked reading hours and literacy related activities, but we're trying to figure out what data we should be tracking to see if we really are moving the needle on third grade reading.
Yeah. So, we did keep track of the number of books that each child read over the course of the summer. Some of the skeptics in my life said, but they could lie, they might tell you they read more than they read. And honestly, our fallback was the outcome measurement, that AP3 test compared to the AP1 test. That really is the measurement that tells the tale. Now, that said, the output data, I think, was very important for our providers. The Boys and Girls Club, the YMCAs, they loved putting in their newsletter that, their kids had read 700 books that week, or I think that was important to them. I know our library system keeps track of the number of hours read in their book challenge, but because of state regulations, they're not really able to share that data. So we decided that the number of books read would give the children the very concrete bracelets on their arms that us working with the providers to encourage them to have at least 2 activities every week that encourage this love of learning would be important. But the true measurement, the one that counted for us the most, was being able to really see those outcome measurements, that iReady data.
Great, thank you. In the materials that we can download, do you have information about the structure of the Summer Blast Off program day, that training day?
I'm not certain that we do, but I'm happy to provide it because we have the daily agenda, and the Summer Blast Off guide is available on the website for download, and it may have the agenda in it. I can't remember whether we included it or not.
Okay, great. This person says that would be amazing, so thank you. Was the program only implemented with kids entering K through 3rd grade in the following fall?
We made the decision to make it all elementary school students. So we allowed kids, incoming kindergartner through 5th grade, to participate because, we don't want the 4th and 5th graders to stop reading. Right. But our measurements for the summer learning loss and all of that, we used K through 3.
Okay, great. With the curriculum guides that you had, you said you had 6 specific activities. Did you find that people sort of took those and were able to do other things as well? Or do you think that, in the next year you're going to have more than 6 or 6 different ones? What are you thinking about that curriculum?
Well, I think the guide was a great start. And the lessons that were included in the guide, some of them allowed you, to take that lesson and morph it into several other lessons. A couple of them were book specific, but I think that we have the lessons that we used last summer. We will add to those this summer. If we end up doing a full day training, as I suspect we will probably end up engaging with 10 teachers with different lessons. We won't allow them to use the same lesson they used last year. So then, we'll have 16 available lessons that can be utilized. So we'll just keep adding to the library. I think the key was making sure that we kept very aware that not only educators would be executing the lesson. So to really make the language friendly, the objectives friendly, so that, you know, if a high school or college age student picked it up, they would be able to follow it through.
Mm-hmm. And did the guides, like, were the activities directed toward like one grade, or were they kind of broad enough that a group of mixed age kids could participate?
I would say probably 3 of them. It could be mixed
Mm-hmm.
age, and I think one of them was gave you specifics for each grade level,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other 2 were geared towards 3rd grade.
Okay, great. All right, I think we've covered the questions in the chat. If I've missed something, or if someone has one last burning question, you have a minute or 2 to put it in that chat. Suzanne, did you notice anything else that I may have missed?
I did not.
Okay, great. All right, well, we have some thanks for you in the chat, Beth, and I'll wait just another couple of seconds to see if anyone types in. But while I do, I just want to say that Suncoast is such a great example of what we hope that these learning conversations will be, which is sharing what you've figured out how to do with everybody else, so that other people can take what you've learned and start from a different place. And we know there are a lot of communities that have done these type of things, and we hope to continue to share that. But we thank you for being such a great example of that and being supportive of the campaign in so many ways. And I just loved hearing more about this, and I know you're probably going to get a lot of calls and emails, so thanks for fielding those. If for some reason you lose track of Beth's information, we'll be posting the link to the webinar as well as the PowerPoint presentation, and you can also reach out to us, so we'll be happy to connect you with Beth as well. So thank you very much. I don't see more questions, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap up, and I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Thanks for all the great questions and for everyone's participation as well.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. Thanks, Suzanne.
You're welcome. Thank you, Beth.
Bye-bye, Beth.